live, you are live.
Good afternoon to Safari Live. It is Sam Chevalier as presenter and VM behind camera. We have just come down to Djuma watering hole to come and see this quite a large group or a breeding herd of elephants that have just come and drank. They literally walked right past us. If you were looking on the dam cam, you would have seen how close some of them were getting to our vehicle, and now they're moving off down Twin Dams Road off into the distance. So it's been a fantastic morning already. We had an exceptional sighting of hyenas. I woke up this morning and we saw all sorts of stuff from a gene, and it's all just been quite exciting really. And we just heard all these elephants that were down here by the dam. We thought, why not start with a nice big group breeding herd of elephants and see what direction they might be heading in. But it's not only this group here. There's another elephant that's still down there by the watering hole. Let's have a look before we go. There's not just elephants down here, but there's also some buffaloes that are sitting down by the watering hole. So if you actually were watching on the dam cam, you would have seen that the one female got so close to us that she started almost brushing our car with that little piece of that stick there, as if she wanted to clean us. I don't think Wendy's that dirty, but it was quite... Well, Wendy's our car, by the way, if anyone is wondering who Wendy is. And I think she was really curious because I was wearing my hat, my birthday hat, and she just came right up to us and started looking at us quite interestingly. So I don't think I'm going to wear that hat right now. Maybe when a bit later, when there's no big female elephants that want to look at us differently. So here are the big buffalo bulls that are sitting down by the watering hole. And it's quite interesting, that elephant is now moving off. There's the dam cam. So we have one that looks like a male. So the male's going in a complete opposite direction, and he's not going slowly either. He's really missioning off into the distance there. And he's not following the others, which is quite interesting because they were all moving together as one big family group, and now it looks like it might be a lone bull that just joined them down by the watering hole and saw that they were drinking and just came to see some of the females. But there is a strong, well, quite a loud sound of the red-billed oxpecker that would be sitting here with the buffalo, because there's one right there on the furthest buffalo in the distance here. You'll just see the silhouette of a red-billed oxpecker. The red-billed oxpeckers will give us an indication that there are big animals out here. There's actually 4 on this one over here. Before we go back down to those elephants, let's quickly go see if there's a yellow-billed oxpecker. That would be such a great thing to see on my birthday. I've only ever seen one of them. There goes that big. Look how, now you can really see the contrast of how big that bull is while he's inside that watering hole there. Well, not the watering hole, down the drainage line. I think he's going to go and browse on that tree that he's going towards. So I'm just going to turn around. We're going to leave that bull over there, and we're going to go and follow. Oh, here comes a big buffalo towards the watering hole. Maybe he's coming to join his brothers sitting down. Oh, a very active afternoon already. And there's a female one just down. Oh, there's quite a lot of activity out here. So there's another, looks like a female buffalo that's coming up here. You often normally just find the females. Well, it's either a female or a youngster. This is quite interesting. Let's watch the interaction between this buffalo coming up here with all the oxpeckers on its back and the other one. So look, we can actually look at the features of this buffalo that's just in front of us, and then the one that it looks like she's moving towards. She looks quite cautious as she walks towards this male here. Interesting little bit of interaction between the 2 buffaloes. She looks like she's following him, and he's quite an old bull. You can tell that he's quite an old bull just purely because of not only the size of him, but you can see that his skin has been worn down quite some bit. And that's often what happens with these old bulls. They lose a lot of the hair on top of their backs there, and that's why they like to be down in these cold, cooler areas in the watering holes, to cover up from the sun and collect some mud on top of their backs. So we'll probably find that this big buffalo will come and walk into this watering hole now. Here he is, he's right there. And that female, there's another buffalo that's walking just up here. So we've got two of the big five that are just walking around drinking, the buffalo and the elephant. So if we're lucky, we're going to see them drink here, and we'll be even luckier if we see them jump into this water and have a nice afternoon bath. Or cool down rather. Bath would be hot. I don't think they would be very comfortable to jump into a warm pool right now. So let's just have a look at those oxpeckers on top of this buffalo. I can't see any yellow-billed ones there. I can see some juvenile ones. Looks like the oxpecker is also jumping to get some water, as you can see there. There we go. There's two of them that are now drinking from the watering hole. So not only is the buffaloes drinking at the watering hole, but so are the oxpeckers. Everything needs water out in the bush, and we're coming to that season, which is the driest season, the winter season. So June, July, August is going to be some dry months, and this water may very well dry up over those months. There you can see this one actually. If we go to the one drinking, you can really see it drinking the water. There we go. So very different to that of elephants that drink at the watering hole, which you would have seen on the dam cam not just a few minutes ago. Yeah, you can see him drinking there. So let's go and quickly have a look at that other elephant. That other elephant is still down there by that big tree. So we're still in sight of that elephant. And we are in sight of all these buffaloes that are drinking by the watering hole. And it's been reported those lions that we were following up on this morning went off towards, I think it was Chitwa, because the Birmingham boys are on Chitwa. They're all four of the Birmingham boys are on a kill at Chitwa. So some of the females have gone there to join them with that. So hopefully, I mean, later on in the drive towards the end, we'll see if we can find them crossing over into our area, which will be exciting to see those Birmingham boys. Maybe they'll get some roars. Then I was wondering that same question, if this is a buff calf here. And I think it is a buff calf. You can see it there. Because it is a lot smaller than them. And it's really, really interesting to see this buffalo here with these ones. Because what you'll see is there's two really big old boys here. It's almost like the young son and the dad drinking at the watering hole together, which is quite nice to see. But if you look here, these are very, very old ones to the right here as well. So we've got a few buffalo that are lurking around here. 1, 2, 3 there. So you can quite easily see the difference between the young buffalo and these other ones. Debbie's wondering if it might have lost the herd. It's a good question, Debbie. You know, I've never actually seen this before, where there's a much younger looking buffalo with some older ones. But have a look at the oxpecker that's bathing, that's swimming in this water here. It's quite cool. See how useful, how important the water is out here, not only for drinking, but for cleansing and cleaning themselves. It's very cool to see them doing this. So that significant bird call that you can hear while I'm talking is the sound of the red-billed oxpecker. Quite a strong sound. So when you're walking in the bush, always pay attention to that sound, because that will often tell you that there is a big buffalo that could be around the corner. There we go, this is what we wanted to see. So some of the viewers are asking if that is a female buffalo, and that's what I initially thought. I initially thought that it was a female buffalo. And it looks like it because I cannot see, now that I can see it from a distance here, I cannot see the genitalia that would tell me that it's a male. So I would think that it is a female. But it's a young female. It wouldn't be an old female. But it's quite interesting to see how she's following this larger male here. Interesting behavior to see this. So I haven't lost sight of that big group of elephants that were here not so long ago. There's two that are still deep in the thicket there. Oh, there's actually another two that have... So the big bull that was down there has now gone into the thicket, and there's another one with a younger one that are coming to the watering hole to have something to drink. So we came here at the right time to see the animals coming and drinking at the watering hole. Here they come, and they can, I feel like they can almost smell the water. I think it's so cool to watch how elephants get excited to get to the watering holes. Look at them, they're both lifting their trunks. That's very, very interesting. I wonder what would they be trying to smell? Maybe they're trying to smell not only, I think they could be trying to smell the other elephants that were in this area, potentially. I mean, animals have a much different kind of sense than we have. Their smell is a lot stronger. Some of their eyesights are not as good though. So you'll find with some animals the eyesight is not as good, but their smell is incredibly good. You help them pick up on all the different things that are happening around them. And the smell can make the difference between life and death out here in the bush. That smell of a predator that's stalking you in the bush can make all the difference to your survival. So this is going to be a fantastic sighting of these elephants hopefully coming to get something to drink. Here they come. So this one looks like a female over here. And the youngster just behind her. And watch the way in which these elephants drink. This is so cool. So much different to the buffalo, of course. They just put their trunk into the water there and they suck up their straw, and that's the way they then lift it into their mouth and drink the water. So we're going to be having a school drive at around 3:30, and that'll go for 45 minutes. I'm looking forward to bringing some of the kids onto our drive, teaching them some of the interesting facts of the wilderness. And they're going to be interested in learning about animal characteristics. So please send in your questions before 3:30. We've still got 15 minutes. If you have any questions, please send through questions@WildEarthTV. That'll be to our email address. But you're also welcome to send all your questions during the school drive. We can still collect them, and as soon as the school drive will be finished, we'll answer all of them that you've sent. Well, we'll do our best to answer all of them. But this is very cool to see the elephants drinking here. I must say, this is a great way to spend your birthday. Coming down, watching elephants drink. And buffalo's starting to get closer into the water now as well. We've got two elephants drinking and a buffalo looking at the elephants quite cautiously, trying to decide whether it should go deeper. I think it should. We'll get to watch it bath. Look at how the youngster is only a couple years old. It's really developed the ability to now use that dexterous trunk of it. So they put their trunk into that water, suck it up, and lift up their heads and drink it. We had such a special sighting of young elephants playing in the water. It's really, really cool to see how they learn. Yes, there we go. This is so much going on at this watering hole. You've got birds drinking and washing themselves, buffalo coming in closer, 2 elephants that have been drinking. Tony's asking, do animals need salt? Tony, that's an interesting question. I'm sure they do. I've never read a study around the need for animals to get salt, but what I have read is that some animals needs other sorts of minerals which they get from soil. So it's called geophagia, and what they do is they actually eat the soil and they collect some of the minerals from that soil that they need in their body, which is fascinating. And I'm sure maybe salt could be a part of those elements that need to be digested. I have seen an elephant once lift up some dirt and put it in its mouth. I wasn't sure why it was doing that. That could very well be why. But the wind has just picked up. All of a sudden the winds have picked up. And there's quite a few clouds in the sky this afternoon. We didn't get much rain the other day. But that's okay, at least there is some water in the watering holes. See them drinking here. So there's been quite a few elephants down by the watering hole. If you've just joined us now, this is the second group of elephants that have just come down. And there's quite a few buffaloes. So in the distance there's another buffalo. It's walking in towards us, and that female is still here with us, a female buffalo. Just to the right of us, yeah? Here she is. There she is, so she's still with us. Interesting dynamic here. This buffalo that's about to walk past us though, have a look at all the oxpeckers on its back. If you get a closer look at them, you can actually see how they collect some of the ticks. There they are, fantastic. If you want to have a screenshot, you can take a picture of these 4 red-billed oxpeckers that'll be pulling out the ticks within this buffalo here. You can see they're shaking off all the water after their bath. So these are all the red-billed oxpeckers that you can see. Interestingly, the reason why, it looks like the oxpeckers they were cleaning each other as well. Interesting. Let's go back to those elephants though quickly. See how these ellies are doing. There's so much going on here, from buffaloes to red-billed oxpeckers. It's like one big pool party for my birthday. All sorts happening down at Djuma Dam. I think the youngsters had a good fill of water, but is now enjoying just playing with the water there. Very cool to watch this. Just blowing some bubbles in the water. Be interested to see in what direction these elephants now go. I think they might follow that male that went off into the distance there. You don't often find a female and a youngster walking on their own together around. So I wonder where their greater... There we go. Another one's getting in here now. I was just wondering where the greater group is, the breeding herd of elephants that they were with earlier. Maybe they're still coming. We could be seeing the beginning of a breeding herd coming to the watering hole. So it looks like the females changed positions of the watering hole to see. Just put her trunk into a new part of the water. Have a look there in the distance, there's a giraffe that's also here. Just to our left, we've got a giraffe that's just come into the scene. I can just see a giraffe in the distance there to the left that's picking at the tree. We'll come back to the elephant now. I just want to show you that giraffe that's there. There we go. So I just wanted to show you the giraffe. Hopefully that giraffe is going to come through and drink some water as well. So this really is a pool party that's happening, yeah? But while we wait for the giraffe to come back towards us and hopefully get something to drink, let's watch this elephant that's now starting to throw water all over itself. That was so cool. Wow, there is quite a lot going on here. There's buffaloes to the right of us, elephants to the left. A young female calf, well no, a young, I'm not sure if that's a female calf elephant there. I can't tell, it's really, really difficult to tell the sex of a young elephant. So we're going to sit here and just potentially see what else might be coming to this pool party this afternoon. With that, let's go and see how Brent is doing. He's just going out into the bush and exploring Djuma.
Welcome to Safari Live. Sorry about the late start for Dangerous Dave and myself, Brent Smith. We had a little bit of tech difficulties. Fortunately, our tech team was all over it, and it seems to be sorted. So exciting sunset safari. Let's get out, see what we can find. And remember, if you want to know anything about the bush, we're here at your disposal. Pop me an email on questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. And we do have a school drive coming up, but keep sending those questions, and the ladies in final control will keep them for after the school drive. So let's go see what we can find. So this morning was quite a trying morning when it came to the big cats. We tracked 5 cats off our traverse area. But I am the eternal optimist, and I'm hoping at least one or possibly a different cat might have come back. So I did hear there were some leopard tracks up around Sydney's Dam early this morning, and I'm going to go ahead into the area to see.
So we are back at the watering hole still. We're just having some problems with signal and Brent, but those 2 elephants that were here now have just gone down into the drainage line there and is now heading to the other side. So we are leaving, or the elephants are leaving us now. They'll potentially go off and browse and graze in the direction of where that other big bull elephant was just now. But hopefully that giraffe will come down to the watering hole a little bit later. It's so cool to watch the young elephant following its mother there. Let's watch it move off into the distance.
I must think correctly, that calf's got a stumpy tail.
Yeah, it does have a stumpy tail. Have a look at that wild notice there, Vian. There's on the back of that elephant on the back, there's a stumpy tail. Looks like it's been chopped in half there, that tail of that young elephant. Interesting. I wonder what would have happened to that. So there go those elephants off into the distance. So we're here now, faced with a number of buffaloes that are just looking at us. Acting like roadblocks out here. Ooh, interesting. One just got a little fright. There's quite a few oxpeckers on top of this buffalo here, but look at the size of those horns of this buffalo. So I think he's going to go and find somewhere to lie down. Brian in Toronto would like to know, do territorial breeding herds of elephants ever fight in disputes? It's a good question, Brian. We were sitting with a breeding herd of elephants at Buffelshoek Dam just not so long ago, just a couple of days, and all of a sudden another group of elephants came down to that watering hole, and there was a little bit of a little bit of conflict between what looked like the two matriarchs of those breeding herds of elephants. I've read in books that there can be disputes between the two breeding herds, specifically when conditions are really bad, or there is drought conditions where it's really dry and there's not much access to water. So that's when elephants will become kind of aggressive to each other, when situations are starting to get a little bit more difficult out here. But the elephants more have home ranges rather than territories. So it wouldn't be over a territorial over a watering hole. It would more mean just the access to the water itself. But this is quite an interesting display between these buffaloes here. They're really walking around each other, making quite a noise. Yeah, it looks like they're moving around doing some sort of Spanish dance between these two buffaloes. Let's see if they continue to do it. It looks like the other one's just walking off now. Today we've seen some fascinating behavior between animals. This morning we were sitting with two impalas that were kind of bashing each other, and they were walking. One impala was walking towards the other one. Let's quickly have a look at this buffalo though before I talk about that. Have a look at how the buffalo is rubbing its boss. It's called the boss against that tree over there, which is a bush willow. It looks from this, either I can't see. It could be a guarri or a bush willow, but it's, wow, listen to that. It's rubbing that boss against the tree. There seems to be a little bit of a dispute between these buffalo. I think we could be in for a little bit of not just a Spanish dance, but a little bit of a little fight between these two buffalo. It seems like they're almost testing each other's size, which is quite interesting. They're quite old boys. As you can see, both of them are quite old. And the reason I say you can see that is because there is quite a loss of what looks like fur on top of their backs there. And they're of course not part of the big breeding herds. So when they get old like this, they become, it's harder for them to keep up with the breeding herd. So they come down to the thicker watering areas to eat on the nice rich green grasses and to drink the water. So, as I said, we were going to be with a school this afternoon. It is Glenwood Elementary and Mr. Travato who will be joining us. Welcome to Safari Live, kids. I hope that you have such a fascinating time. If you have any questions at all, please send an email at questions@wildearth.tv or hashtag Safari Live. Any questions, whether it's elephants or buffalo or whatever we might have here. Let's start off with some buffalo. We've got a buffalo here. That's on our right. That's now rubbing its face against this tree. You can really hear how this buffalo is rubbing itself against this tree. Well, he was, but there's quite a bit of mud on top of that boss there. Look at that. So that buffalo would have gone down to the watering hole, which is close to us here, rubbed its boss in the water, and now has come towards the trees and grazing. Now we can quite clearly see as it walks next to us here, the loss of hair on the back of its back. You can see that there's a juvenile buffalo oxpecker, sorry. Very, very interesting, but there's even more interesting displays happening around us. The buffalo just in the distance there is rubbing its boss against that tree there. Wow, this is fascinating to watch. These buffaloes are providing us a lot of entertainment. Here's what looks like a female buffalo that's walking around within these group of males. I think she's feeling quite intimidated with all these males around her, but let's go and have a look at this buffalo in the distance there that is really rubbing its boss against that tree. So sometimes they get lots of parasites in that boss, and they use that tree to rub against and to try and get the parasites out. But we have got a roadblock, as you can see in front of us, so we can't quite get past. We're going to wait for it to move through, and then we'll get there. Actually, let's just go around it. We can go around him. Kaylee would like to know, how do the buffaloes not get hurt when they're rubbing themselves against this tree? Well, Kaylee, when they rub against the tree there, you know, their bosses aren't like skin. It's very, very hard keratin, which is part of the, like your nails, almost like your nails, but thicker versions that have grown into these bosses. And when they rub it, they're trying to get rid of the things, the parasites inside there, so they don't get hurt doing it. It's a very, very hard substance. Let's have a look at them here. So they're standing in opposite directions of each other. We can just see an elephant in the future, in the distance there. Kenzie would like to know, do buffalo make noises? Yes, they do make noises. We just heard them grunting at each other just now. So hopefully, if we're lucky, maybe while we sit here, we might hear some buffaloes making a noise. Here we go. Look at it. Carmen would like to know how big buffalo get. Carmen, think of your cows back home. They're quite big, but maybe put another meter above them, or they're just much bigger cows, basically. Buffalo. So just bigger cows that are out here on the African bush that have really, really big bosses, which are called horns, Kaylee. So they're almost like big cows, and those big cows are now walking off into the distance there. And I think we should go and have a look at that elephant while that elephant is quite close to the road. But it's been fascinating sitting with these buffaloes and learning a little bit more about them, especially having a female, which I'll quickly show you before we go off to the elephant, the female, the difference between the female and the male buffalo. Have a look at the size of the boss on the one on the right to the one on the left. There we go. So that's a female and a male buffalo, and they're actually walking straight towards us, which is quite nice. See, they're quite interested in what we are. Ooh, whoa!
Good afternoon, mobile station.
Tristan, I wanted to keep silent there because you could really hear the sound of those bosses as they hit each other. Luckily, we didn't leave these buffalo. Let's see what they might do, Tristan. So, what they were doing there was hitting each other with the bosses. This is the female that just came. It's coming close to this male here. So, Tristan, you were saying, what is the most dangerous animal that you've encountered on foot or anything out here in the bush? These are them. The buffalo are the most dangerous, especially when you're out in the bush. I once had an encounter with one of these really, really big buffaloes when I was walking on my own at where I trained, and the buffalo just started to follow me. And because they're really, really old, they don't run away when they see a predator. Well, most of the time, generally they don't run away because it's easier for them to just charge and fight rather than trying to get away because they know that they can't because they're quite old. So these, what we are looking at now, when you're in the bush and you're walking, this is what you must be most frightened of and most aware of. That was such a fascinating display between the two buffaloes there. We are so lucky to have seen that so close to us, buffaloes coming and hitting each other. Wasn't that incredible? And you can imagine that's a couple tons, or 1 or 2 tons running at each other at full force, smacking each other in the head. What's interesting is this female is following this male wherever it goes. Wow. Wasn't that incredible, guys? We got to see buffaloes up close fighting with each other. That really doesn't happen often. So let's go and have a look at that elephant that's in the distance there. Aiden would like to know, how do we keep the animals from becoming extinct? Aiden, it's very difficult, you know, sometimes we have to create land for conservation, so we need to create land where we don't populate and we don't use agriculture and we don't have human urban areas, so we can allow some of the animals to live freely. That's why we have parts of South Africa that are open to Mozambique, which was another country next to us, and Zimbabwe, that allows for other animals such as the elephant and the buffaloes and the wildebeest to be able to walk through the different countries. So that is how we just basically try and create habitat. Habitat means home. Here's an elephant right in front of us here. Awesome, have a look at this elephant. I'm not going to go too close just to see what the behavior of this elephant might be. You can see that he is starting to feed on the tree here, where he was about to start feeding on the tree. It's always very important before viewing an animal just to see what its behavior might be like. Isabella would like to know, what is the most rare animal I've ever seen in the bush? Well, Isabella, I've seen a honey badger. I don't know if you know what a honey badger is. It loves to eat honey. That's where it gets its name from. It follows a bird called a honey guide to the different parts of the bush to eat some honey. And it's a really incredible animal to see. So that's the best, most rare bird I've ever seen. So there's this elephant just in there. So we're going to sit with this elephant and hopefully this elephant will come back out. But let's go through to Brent, see how Brent is doing. I think he's standing on something quite large.
3, 2, 1, you're live.
Hello to Glenwood Elementary. My name is Brent. I've got Dave on camera and we out on the African bush on foot. So a big welcome to Mr. Travato's class. And I know today's theme is animal characteristics. Now, this is quite a characteristic pose for certain animals out in the bush. I'm sitting on top of a termite mound, and lots of different animals use termite mounds, and quite often we'll notice they'll sneak up to the termite mound like this, and they'll sort of try to keep their head parallel with the termite mound and look around, see what they can see. And this is a really, really important thing if you're a big cat. If I was a leopard or a cheetah, I'd approach the termite mound, come up here, look around, see if there were some impala or other animals, which they're not right now, and see if I could find something to eat. But it's really nice to be able to take you guys on a walk, because normally we're in the cars. But the very cool thing about being on the walk is we can see some other animals that we're not going to be able to see so closely on the car. Now Jaden's asking about that termite mound. And he's saying, do snakes live in it? Well, this particular one, I can't see any snake tracks, but there is a scorpion's house. So there's a scorpion that's been living in this termite mound, and you can see by the shape of its hole. So scorpions are not round, they're sort of oblong. So you can see just by the shape of that hole that that's a scorpion's house. But snakes do live in termite mounds. And we'll see if we can find some snake tracks. There were some around earlier today, So let's go have a look what else is around.
How big can the snake open its mouth, Jaden?
So Jaden's actually asking a very interesting question. How big can a snake open its mouth? Now Jaden, that completely depends on the type of snake. Certain snake species are able to dislocate their jaw, so they'll be able to make it really wide, like an African rock python, which is the biggest snake we get here, and it can eat a whole impala, and it can make its mouth very, very wide by dislocating its jaw. So we're going to try see if we can find some snake tracks to show you, and on a nice sandy road like this, there's a good chance we should see some tracks. But you've got to be very careful when you're walking in the bush. I'm using my ears, my eyes, and I'm looking everywhere. Well, Tamir is wondering about what type of qualifications we need to get our jobs. Well, generally some form of bush qualification is necessary. I myself am very lucky. I've grown up in the bush, so there are sort of ranger schools you can go to learn how to be a safari guide, but at the end of the day, there's no substitute for experience and time spent in the bush. Okay, so we're looking carefully for tracks here. So far, only car tracks. So Rihanna is wondering what animals are common around this area. Well, Rihanna, impala, which I'm hoping we'll see, and we can try pretend to be a leopard or a lion and see if we can stalk the impala. But buffalo, elephant, lion, leopard, wildebeest, zebra are all relatively common in this area. Now, since we're on a walk and the cars stay on the road, I think it's enough of this road nonsense, and let's go off into the bush. Oh, look at this, guys. So we found a giraffe. There, if you look straight through there, I'm going to point with my stick. And you got him there. So what we're going to do is a giraffe behave quite characteristically when approached by certain things. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that we're a lion and we're really hungry. And we're going to see how close we can sneak to this giraffe. So if you're thinking about being a lion, that giraffe hasn't seen us yet. And we've got the wind in our favor. So what we're going to do is we're going to sneak like a lion now. So we've got to get low. We're going to go and we're going to try to keep behind all the little bushes. So I'm going to start talking a bit softer. And if we're lucky, sometimes giraffe, because they're so tall, they spot things from far away. And if we sit down, he might walk up to have a closer look at us. Oops, there goes my radio. So, animals are always more scared of you when you're walking than when you're in a car. Now, that's because people, like lions, are a predator. So they have an instinctive response to us. Oh dear, have we been spotted? Oh no, we've been spotted. If we were a lion, we'd be going hungry tonight because our stalk wasn't that good. There we go. You can see we've been spotted. They're moving off a little bit, but because they've seen us, they're not so scared or not so worried about us. So we're going to try another little trick that if you spend a lot of time in the bush, you learn. It's called non-predatory behavior. So we've been behaving like a predator, and that's made the giraffe move a little bit away. So now we're going to behave like a predator who's not interested in hunting. So we're going to stand up nice and tall and walk. And we're going to try to walk to a termite mound down there, and then we're going to sit down and see if the giraffe come closer to have a look at us. Doesn't look like my trick's working though. Sorry Dave, just come this way. You're going to knock your aerial. So Emma's wondering, do different animal species fight with each other? Yes, they do, Emma. Specifically, since we've been talking quite a lot about predators. So lions will fight with hyenas and leopards, and hyenas will fight with leopards. All the predators will fight amongst each other. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One is competition, or the main reason is competition, to try remove any other predator from the area that might steal its food, or it perceives to be stealing its food. there we go. Now that we're pretending not to hunt the giraffe anymore. Oh, no, there they go. They're taking off, unfortunately. So, it's a very good example about why you can get close to an animal in a car and much closer than you can on foot. So man, like a lion, like a leopard, is a predator. And the animals know that because man originated in Africa and has been hunting these animals for hundreds of thousands of years. And they have an instinctive response, and that's why they've run away. But the big things have moved off, so now we're going to go see if we can find some of those small things. So Rihanna's wondering, how tall is a giraffe? Now, Rihanna, I'm 6'3", and a really tall giraffe can get to about 18 foot. So, even taller than I can hold my stick up. So really, really tall, and they can be very, very heavy. So they can be about, if I remember correctly now, about 9,000 pounds. So very, very big, heavy animal. Now, here we have one of the giraffe's favorite foods. It's called an acacia tree, and this particular one is called a red thorn. Now, very small little leaves, and can you believe a giraffe will munch through these monster thorns? Now, look how sharp this thorn is. It is incredible. Now, the inside of a giraffe's mouth is like an old, tough leather boot. So it can just break. I couldn't even break that with my finger without having an owie. But a giraffe will be able to sit here and eat. And they've got a tongue that is over 14 inches long. And it'll wrap around and strip all these leaves off. And one of the benefits of having such a tall body and a long neck is a giraffe can get to all the leaves up there that the other animals can't get to. So while we continue on, see what else we can find for you guys, let's go back to Sam, who's with another giraffe.
Yeah, like when I can see it. So here we are with another giraffe, and we were just talking about with Brent what they eat. So you can see this giraffe is now walking down towards a drainage line and is eating part of the tree up there. So this is what you call a browsing animal. There you can see its tongue wrapping around the branch there. Amir would like to know, what other types of plants will a giraffe eat? Well, this male giraffe over here looks like it's eating a combretum bush, which is a type of bush willow bush. So it likes to eat bush willows. It'll eat the acacias, which are the thorny ones, which I'll show you a bit later. It'll eat a bushveld gardenia. It'll eat all sorts of different other bushes. Some of them they won't. I'll show you the ones that they won't eat. But they really, really like that one that Brent was talking about, the acacia nigrescens, which is the knobthorn tree. But here you can see it looks like it's eating on a... Let me just get my binoculars out and I can tell you exactly what tree. Right. Quite interesting, it looks like it's eating on a tamboti tree there. And we often find that tamboti tree down by the thickets, but it's not often a tree that some of the animals like to eat, because it's got a lot of tannins in it. And so the tree has adapted to not being eaten by animals. Isn't that interesting? It's adapted means that it's stopped other animals from eating it. And Mia would like to know, what other things might a giraffe eat other than plants? Well, Mia, a giraffe might go down and find a bone, an old bone that might be lying on the floor, and it'll go down and pick up that bone and eat it. And what it gets from that bone is well, it will chew on it rather than eat it. It will chew on the bone, and much like you drink your milk in the mornings to get your calcium C with your breakfast, a giraffe will chew on a bone to collect some calcium C from that bone. So that's quite fascinating. So they eat plants and they sometimes eat bones. Kenzie would like to know, are giraffes going extinct? Kenzie, at the moment our populations of giraffe are doing okay. They can be seen all the way down in southern Africa towards the upper regions of Africa. So we do have quite a few giraffe left, so we should be fine for now. But we do need to still think about how we're going to conserve and look after the giraffes within our human environments in the future. It's something that if you want to become an ecologist or learn more about nature, we start to learn about how do we live and look after animals in these environments. So we are doing okay with giraffe populations at the moment. So we should be good. And this is a male giraffe that you can see here. And we can tell that it is a male purely by looking at the ossicones which are on top of the head. The ossicones are those two knobbly things that are coming out of the top of the head there. And if there's no fur on that, if you can't see any fluffy fur on top, that means it is a male. And also the female ones are quite a lot more narrow, which means they push together a bit more, or push out, sorry. They push out. So this is a male, and the males are also quite a lot larger. And the reason why there's no fur on top of these giraffes is because they fight with their necks. If you've ever seen a video of giraffes fighting, you'll see that they will. There we go. What VM is doing now is he's pointing down the neck, and you can sometimes see scarring, and you can see a bit of a scar there on the neck of the giraffe, and that could have been from those ossicones on top of the head there and hitting into that giraffe's neck. So that's when they display dominance. Much like we saw the buffaloes fighting, that's how we would see giraffes fighting. So giraffes also fight with each other, which is mainly the males. Just the males will fight with one another, and that will be over females and access to land and water. But mainly females, the giraffes will fight over. Have a look at how this giraffe is eating this tree, and you'll find, if you look closely, the giraffe's tongue there is actually quite dark. And the reason why it's quite dark is because it is able to wrap around the tree of an acacia thorn, which is those really, really big thorns, and it doesn't bleed with that. So you would have learned that with Brent. So Brent actually told you that, which is great. So we've both been sitting with the giraffe. But in the distance there, I thought I saw a monkey moving around. I think it would be quite cool for us to see some monkeys and some other trees. And in this drainage line, we get all sorts of different trees, from jackalberries that have nice fruits on them to monkeys that climb them. So let's go see if we can find them. So the giraffe's having a look at us now. So Serenity would like to know, how do we stay safe out here from the animals? How do we know that they won't hurt us? Well, Serenity, it comes with a lot of practice in terms of living out in the bush and learning about how animals behave. And you can always tell if an animal is upset with you. So it's very different being in the vehicle. As you can see, I'm in the vehicle at the moment, and they are a little bit more relaxed with the vehicles than they are with people, because of course, people in the past have hurt animals before, and so they've created a memory around people that they must run away from them. So if this giraffe had to see me standing where I am now when I'm not in a vehicle, let me just switch this off, when I'm not in the vehicle, it would run away straight away. So there we go. So we just have to be, it's all about communication and learning from different animals and learning what they're feeling. So elephants will show you when they're not feeling very happy. So here goes this. So Brent is with a caterpillar. Let's go and see what that caterpillar looks like. We're going to go and see if we can find some monkeys.
3, 2, 1, you're alive.
Look at this. So as we said, it's not all about the big things. Oh, look at that behavior. So what happened, it just picked up a bit of my breath. The carbon dioxide caused that caterpillar to react. So this is a little moth larvae, and you can see it's very hairy. Oh, look at that. Now, if I was a bird, that's to put me off. It's to try make sure that I know that I don't taste nice, or I've got spikes on me, that I'm being threatened. But you can see, that's why you have a lot of these little white tips and black. Anything dark or very light is what we would call aposematic coloring. So it's warning colorings, And you can see, because he doesn't really fit the camouflage with the tree that he's in, but a really, really beautiful little caterpillar. Now, we did get asked about some flowers. This guy is eating one of the plants we get here, and unfortunately no flowers on this tree, but when it does have flowers, they're very pretty. It's called the Chinese lantern tree. Now, Carmen was wondering about flowers. Carmen, we're in our winter months, so there are not too many flowers around, but fortunately we are in a good spot to show you one of the more interesting flowers we get here. Here we go. Let's try to find one that's still got a flower. Oh, they're almost all finished flowering now. There we go, there is one flower left here. Let's have a look down here. So here we go. There's the one little flower. Now the rest of these flowers have finished flowering. Now this flower doesn't even have an English name. It's only got a scientific name. It's called a WildEarthTV. A WildEarthTV indica, this particular one. Now, the really cool thing about this flower is that it's a very special flower to one type of butterfly. So this plant is poisonous, but the butterfly caterpillars, similar to the one we've just seen there. So the adult butterfly will lay their eggs, often on the underside of the flower, of the leaf, and the babies will hatch here, and they'll eat this specific plant. And they get hydrogen cyanide poison from this plant. So the acria butterflies become poisonous when they're adults because the babies eat the poisons in this plant. And that makes them be able to fly around, very relaxed, slow moving wings. They don't have to worry about birds eating them. They're bright orange and black and red, and that tells the birds that this is a nasty tasting butterfly. You don't want to try eat me. And they are very poisonous from eating this particular plant. Now, there are other butterflies that pretend to be the acria. So that's called mimicry. So they look very similar to the acria butterfly. They're called pseudo-acrias. Even though they're not poisonous, the birds think they might be poisonous, so they don't eat them. We might get lucky, Carmen, and find one or two more flowers out on this open area here. So let's go have a look. Well, Autumn is wondering if I've ever seen a flower that lasts through all 4 seasons. Autumn, unfortunately not. We do have one really cool flower that is our only winter flowering plant, and that's called Kalanchoe. But it's a succulent, so it survives in very dry climates, and we can get very, very dry during our winter months. So far, the only flowers I'm seeing, all the wind's caught it, let's just wait and be patient. So that is a different type of poisonous butterfly, not the acria. I don't know if you see him. We're going to try to wait for him to land. There we go. You got him, Dave? Okay. See this little tree here? Come down to the right. Let's go try to get a bit closer. Let's see if we can find this beautiful orange butterfly. Okay. Oh, one step too many. So there are quite a few butterflies. We're just going to let them settle before we chase after them. You got them there, Dave? It's 2 of them, a pair of African monarchs. Now you get monarch butterflies in America, and those are also poisonous. There we go, there they are fluttering. You can see they fly very slowly with that nice bright orange colouring to warn the birds that they don't want to eat them. Very pretty butterfly. Oh, there we go, off it goes. Let's keep going, let's keep looking for some flowers for Carmen. If we're going to fly flowers, Carmen, it's going to be on this open area here. Now these open areas are very important for animals. So it is what we call a seep line, and that's where water comes from the top of the hill and it seeps under the ground. So we've got very sandy soil on top and heavy clay underneath. And this means this area is quite heavy with water during the rainy season. And that means that it's a bit too wet for lots of trees to grow. So a lot of grass grows, and really good grass grows here, so it attracts a lot of the animals. So Rihanna, very clever Rihanna, would like to find a flower that has mimicry. I will try my best, Rihanna, but unfortunately, as I said, at this time of the year, there are very few flowers because we are in our dry season. So in our rainy season, we've got lots of flowers, hundreds of types of flowers, but unfortunately now, turn around there. There we go, there's a butterfly a bit closer. Got him there? There's that African monarch. Oh, off it goes. Very difficult to film butterflies. Dave is doing a sterling job. The monarch is also one of the only butterflies where I have all year round. And Autumn's wondering, what are the colors of the poisonous butterfly? Well, generally they're dark colors and bright colors. Black, white, red, orange, and that type of coloring is called aposematic coloring. And that's to warn other animals that it's poisonous. Okay, so we're still in search of flowers. We might get lucky. So far, only the same Wildflowerias. You must remember, certain flower species out here only flower once every 2 or 3 years, and some even only once every 10 years. So that's what makes flowers so interesting for me. They're one of my personal favorite things because every year there's a different group of flowers to look for and look at. So, now, what a lot of people don't realize is grass have flowers too, but they're just so small that we can't see them. Unfortunately, these are not flowers, these are seeds. And this is called love grass. And it's named after, I think it's the Greek goddess of love, Eros. So its scientific name is Eragrostis, basically love grass. And this particular one is called saw-edged love grass. Now you do need a little bit of an imagination to pretend that that's a heart, but that's where the name comes from. Okay. Oh, sorry guys, I just have to sneeze quickly. Oh, yeah, lots of dust around at the moment. So I didn't hear whose name there, but someone was asking, do we have poison ivy or poison oak here? Alyssa was asking. Alyssa, we don't. We do have some poisonous plants, but not too many. The only real bad thing that'll sting your skin when you're walking through the bush are stinging nettles. And even here, they're quite rare in this area. We only find them around the dry riverbeds and areas like that. Now, what do we have here? So we saw a little caterpillar eating away earlier, and this is the same species, and we just spotted another one. Or he looks similar but not quite the same. See him there, Dave? It could be the same species, very similar coloring, and the test will be if he does that same defensive posture we saw with the last one. Where'd he go? He jumped. Jumping caterpillar. Well, he escaped when he got my breath. So a lot of insects react to carbon dioxide. So as you know, we breathe in oxygen and nitrogen and whatnot, but mostly oxygen, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. And a lot of little insects and small animals react to that, because when something breathes carbon dioxide on them, it means they're about to get eaten. While we continue to see what else we can find for you, let's go see how Sam's doing on the game drive car. Oh, don't worry, you're going to stay with us for a little bit longer. It seems like Sam has ducked into a hole where he doesn't have signal. So I'm keeping on these short grass areas looking for flowers. At the same time, I'm always watching up ahead and listening. We don't want to surprise an elephant or a buffalo. Sorry guys, I'm battling here. I'm trying to sneeze. It's just not happening. But we'll have a look here. This looks like it was a buffalo a long time ago, and this is from its shoulder. Would have been like that. It's the shoulder. But now, even an old piece of bone like this is still utilized by lots of different animals. And if we have a look very carefully, can you see that there, Dave? You can see little teeth marks. Now, porcupines and rodents like mice and rats will come chew on old bones when they're lacking calcium in their diet. Believe it or not, even impala and giraffe will chew bones to get calcium. So even an old piece of bone like this that looks like no one will ever use it is still used by lots of different animals. So Caleb was wondering, how many bird species do we get here? So in southern Africa in total, Caleb, we get about 960 bird species. In the Lowveld, oh, Steph's found something. Let's go. Let's quickly go. It looked like something exciting. I wonder what it could be. So what has Steph spotted? Could it be a big arachnid? And I'm struggling to see it. Here we go, Steph. Oh, there we go. Okay, oh, there we go. Very cool. You see it, Dad? Thank you, Steph. Now, oh, there we go. It's a big spider. It's called a garden orb spider. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful big spider? Now, there's a very cool thing in the center of its web. Now, it's caught a grasshopper that she was busy encasing. And then apart from that, if we look here, you see there's a zigzag in the web. It almost looks like a spring. And that's called a stabellum. And what that is there for is to make sure birds don't fly through their nest, through their web. So so the birds can see it, and it's to help the spider protect its web. Because for a spider, it takes an incredible amount of energy to spin a web. Now, spider webs are all protein. So if they don't get any food and their web keeps getting broken, it can cause them to become quite distressed. So that's why they put this wonderful, beautiful little zigzag, almost looks like, as I said, a spring in the center of their web to try to stop birds flying through it. So we've got a few different types of orb spiders here. And this is the garden orb. You can see she's got that very sort of serrated abdomen. Now, that is the female. The male is tiny. And the male's got to be very careful, because if they approach the female in the wrong way, they become dinner like that grasshopper. Beautiful big spider. Now, to give you an idea of how big it is, I'm going to put my hand behind so you can see how big she is. And I've got big hands. There we go. But shame, we'll leave her be. Let her finish her spider dinner. So Kenzie is wondering, do we get black widow spiders here? We do, and we get brown widows. There's another name for them, however. It's sometimes we call them button spiders. So the black button spider is quite often referred to as a black widow. And it's a very interesting spider species because it occurs over multiple continents. So it doesn't only occur in Africa. It occurs in the Americas and whatnot. And the distinguishing feature for you guys to watch out for, because they really like human habitation. So they like being where people live, like tool sheds or garden sheds, places like that, is if you find a small black spider that's very round, right on the back of their bum, there's a red hourglass. So a red, almost 8 shape, and that's how you tell a widow spider. So even the brown ones will also have that red or orange 8 shape on their bum, the black widow and the brown widow, or as the other name for them is, oh, no, I've forgotten completely. But we do have other spiders that are far more dangerous. than widow spiders, and they're called violin spiders, and they cause something that's caused necrosis. Now, what necrosis is, it's a cytotoxic venom. What that means is cell destroying. So we're made up of millions of cells. So if you get bitten around the bite size site, all your cells start dying and basically rotting. It rots living fish. And it's a very tiny spider that looks almost like a daddy longlegs. And they are one of the more common spiders out here in the bush, but they are very shy and retiring, and they normally can be found under all sorts of little bits of branch and whatnot. But it looks like we're not going to find any on this drive or walk. But guys, Mr. Travaso's class, it's been wonderful having you with us on this walk and the drive. I'm going to say goodbye for Sam and myself. And don't forget, you can always watch us on Safari Live, even when you're not at school. But we have loved having you. Until next time, goodbye.
Plus leaf. Hello everyone. Thought I'd quickly just get something from the bush here. I know that the kids' drive is over, but I thought I'd just quickly show you something before everyone has left. I'm sure you guys have, maybe you've left already. Glenwood has been such a great afternoon with those buffaloes especially. Sorry that I'm squinting. The sun's pretty much in my eyes at the moment. But I just thought I'd quickly show you because I collected them. I had a buffalo thorn, but it's now getting stuck to my car because it's foul. There we go, look at this. So that is a buffalo thorn here. I'm going to put it on this counter. Please excuse me while I just switch off this comms. So that is a buffalo thorn, and these thorns are quite sharp. If you have a look at them, they really are quite sharp. So sometimes you can stand on them, but it really doesn't feel very nice when you stand on those. But what is really nice, when you're really hungry out here in the bush, you can take one of these leaves without me hurting myself, and you can eat it. It almost tastes a little bit like spinach. See, I can eat it perfectly and it tastes nice. But I'll show you what I wouldn't want to eat, but it is a really well eaten thing by elephants out here, which is the round leaf teak over here. So this is a round leaf teak, and the elephants love this plant so much. The elephants will come and they'll take the whole branch itself, much bigger, of course, try and imagine a much longer branch, and then it puts it in there and then it just mulls it and chews off all the leaves like that. Or mainly it'll go this way and pull off all the leaves. So that is one way of collecting and eating round leaf teak by an elephant, which is fascinating, isn't it? And lastly, hi there. Thank you very much. Cheers, eh? Are you off on, did you see Karilla that side? She's over here. Okay, thanks so much. Cheers, eh? That's nice. Someone just wished me happy birthday, which is nice. And finally, this is the silver cluster leaf. So if you would have seen on my, if you had a look on the Rewild page, on my Facebook page, you can see the different types of leaves and the compound structure of different leaf structures. And this is the cluster leaf, which gives name to the silver cluster leaf. I'll put it over here because that makes it easier for them. And this plant is not well loved by all the different animals out here. Why? Because it has a different form of defense. So this leaf, this one has a mechanical defense with all those thorns around there. This one, the silver cluster leaf, has a chemical defense. So this one will try and get away from the animals by fighting it with its swords. And this one will create a chemical within the leaf itself that when you eat it, it's horrible. Your whole mouth just tangs up and it just is not very nice. But it's interesting to think that not only have animals evolved to survive out in the bush, but plants have evolved in different ways to try and protect themselves out here in the bush, both chemically and mechanically. So that was just a little lesson on plants, and we are off now. Let's just take all these plants and take them out of the car, and I'm going to put on my birthday hat quickly because I think it's cool. So this is my birthday and I want to wear my hat. It's quite funny. We were sitting with some elephants earlier, myself and Liam, and I put this hat on, and the elephants, you would have probably seen it on the dam cam earlier if you were watching the elephants came right up to my vehicle and almost looked at me quite funny and said, how's this guy wearing this hat on his head? It looks quite strange. So I took it off quite gently just to show them that I wasn't a threat. I mean, it is quite a weird thing to see. If you're an elephant, you just see this guy with a cap on and then this huge big blue hat. It almost looks like a horn of some sort. So it's like I'm wearing a big blue horn on my head. But we're off to Cheetah Plains now to see if maybe we can find a jackal on my birthday. I'd love to see if I can find a side-striped jackal or a black-backed jackal. If not those, cheetah. If not that, big open plains. And what we will see is a sunset. So even if we drive there to watch a magical sunset over the beautiful African savannah, I'll be very happy with that. And there's going to be a nice moon out tonight. The moon has been growing bigger and bigger in the sky. So I've just found out I'm not able to go to Cheetah Plains. No worries. We'll make our way down Cheetah Cutline and see what might be happening at Buffelshoek Dam this afternoon. There might be some elephants that might be walking around there. I'd like to see some more elephants. But what would even be better is you know, there were lines that went off into this property to the right of us as we drive down here, and those tracks headed in a easterly direction. So maybe they've moved off back into our area. We know that the Birminghams are just down here in Chitwa, and the females that were drinking at the dam earlier. Do we have some tracks there, Liam? So the females and the Birminghams are not far away from us. I'm not sure which females it is. I think it is the Nkuhumas, but they are apparently feeding on a buffalo kill not far away from us. So maybe later on in the evening, if they haven't finished off the kill already, they might just move off into our property, which will be awesome. So we'll be listening out for anything that might be happening. I'd love to see some lions today. We had the most magical view of those buffaloes hitting each other though. It was incredible, just for that children's drive as well. So they got to see how animals really interact with each other. So just standing here, we've got some impalas that are right here in the area. I'm actually going to take this hat off, because although it's awesome and blue and cool, I think it's quite a distraction for all the animals out here. So we're out here to view animals. So let's see what not only animals, but plants and all the rest. So this looks like a harem of females that this male over here would have been courting. And there's an impressive looking kudu male in the distance. So we often find impala. So I'm going to come and maybe see some impala later. I'd rather show you this really, really impressive looking kudu that's about to move into the bush here. And there's a female there with him as well. So I noticed that, I know that some of our South African language is not as easy to follow as what you guys could be used to. I know that you don't use the word as well. So it just means with them. So there is the kudu. So that's a large male kudu there. Have a look at how impressive those horns are. And sometimes those horns can get really, really big and long. And then they fight against each other, but you can see that this kudu here is browsing on some leaves, and this is the ideal area you would find kudu. There's also a female that's walking to the right of it there, coming into frame with the male, and this is the area that you would find groups of kudus, where there is some thickets. And they've got really, really big ears where they'll be able to listen out for anything that might be moving around the bush. But I was reading a study, I think that's a young male there, actually. So that's a young male there that you can see. There's two little horns coming out there. So one day his horns might grow much like the elder one that is here. There's the female that's walking off there, so it looks like a nice little family group here, walking together. And I was just saying, I read an interesting study the other night about how big male kudus will fight with each other sometimes, and sometimes when they fight with each other, their horns are so long that they actually become interlocked with each other. And in that process of fighting and becoming locked in, they cannot unlock themselves. So they become in this position where they're trying to pull out of this lock and they can't. And of course that makes it a lot easier for predators to come out and kill. So there's been reports on lions coming and fighting kudus that are stuck together like that, and obviously makes quite an easy kill. And that young one has got its ears pointed out towards us, listening for any sounds. So those ears are almost the size of their head. One ear is the size of the whole head of that kudu. And they can move in all sorts of directions to help collect any sound that might be happening out here in the bush. Quite clearly see those horns now of that male. So let's drive a little closer now. So it's quite nice when you start at a distance, because then they start, I feel that maybe they get a little bit more comfortable with us. So as we get close to this kudu, maybe they'll move off. We're going to go towards Arathusa Dam to see what might be lurking around there. In the time being, let's go and see how Brent is doing.
So we often get asked about the local people here, and this area has probably been habitated for well over a couple of thousand years, initially with the Bushmen and then the Nguni tribes coming down. And it's not that often here on Djuma we actually find sign of human habitation, but we actually have some here. This is probably not that old, at the oldest probably a couple of 100 years old, but it's really in here. But it's been broken, but it is a milling stone. So corn or maize would have been put onto here, and then if you look around carefully, sometimes you can find the other parts. So it would have been put on here by the ladies and then ground. So you would have rolled with it around a rock, and it's actually worn a section in here. Now I've found some probably about 600-700 years old at home, along the riverbed at home, where there's quite a lot, much bigger, deeper ones. But now the reason we know this is definitely from human habitation and not sort of a naturally occurring rock, this rock has to have been carried here. This type of rock, it's a gabbro rock. Let's see if I can, and they're often very big. Now, so this type of rock doesn't occur naturally in this area, so it has to have been carried here. Probably the closest place that these rocks occur, oh, I mean, look at this, it's actually a massive stone, and that's not uncommon with grinding stones. So I don't think I'm going to be able to dig this out. You can see, and they're often chosen for their shape with that slight indentation. And so this is probably carried, I'm trying to think, the closest place is maybe up in the Manyaleti, probably 15-20 k's, possibly down to the south, sort of, the northeastern corner of Buffelshoek. So this stone had to have been carried here, and it's definitely not going to be an elephant that does that. It's going to be a person. Now, if we had beads even, and unfortunately, if we think about a lot of the indigenous people who lived in these areas, their housing and stuff was made out of natural material, so it doesn't last. So often all we find is things like grinding stones and pieces of pottery. Now, generally broken pottery, pottery that's been broken and discarded. It's very, very rare to find a completely enclosed pot. Now, I've looked in a lot of termite mounds here, and I haven't been lucky yet, but about 60 kilometers from here, where I live, I've actually found a termite mound that used to be a kiln. So basically an old aardvark burrow that's been dug out, and fire would have been made in it, and then the pots glazed or baked inside there to make them hard. The interesting thing about that particular termite mound is that it's actually also a hyena den. So every time the hyenas move and they dig and they dig up, you find other bits of pottery there. And I actually sent that pottery through to the University of Pretoria, and they're aged at about 800 years old, which is quite old for the Lowveld. So very interesting. So we're going to keep out on foot for now, and hopefully the tech team will have fixed Jigger shortly, and we'll be able to get out in vehicles. So it looks like we might get the best of both worlds: a walk and a drive. Now, I've been watching him for a while, and he definitely knows we're there. A nice big male giraffe. And we're not going to walk directly at him. I don't want to disturb him. And that gusting wind earlier, we disturbed the two females. We don't want to disturb him. We'll let him be. So we're just going to walk obliquely across from him, and we'll just watch his head. He'll just swing and follow us. Monty would like to know, do lions hunt giraffe often? Yes and no. Again, a lot of that type of behavior is area specific rather than species specific, and they do hunt giraffe in the Sabi Sands. Normally it's more coalitions of males, although it by no means out of a pride like the Nkuhuma's capabilities, but normally it is coalition males. And I have heard of a couple of giraffe being hunted to the north of us in Buffelshoek, but I haven't seen any on Djuma so far. But when I worked in the southern Sabi Sands, the coalition of males called the Mapochos, a very famous coalition of males, actually used to hunt giraffe regularly. I think in the 2 years that I saw them regularly, I think they killed about 9 adult male giraffe, which is no mean feat. I mean, they weigh 2,000 kilograms. You can see, because we're not walking directly at him, he's just hasn't moved an inch, and he's just standing there. And he was watching us. Now he's not even looking at us. He might even start feeding again. And you can see he's missing the tip to his tail. That can quite often be from lions or hyenas when they're younger. Hey, mister. Now he's doing exactly what I was hoping the other giraffe would do earlier. If we display non-predatory behavior and just sort of walk past them, keep talking normally, don't act like we're trying to stalk them. And always when you stop to look at something, we find something really interesting. And before we look at this little flower on the ground, Tony would like to know, can a giraffe, to my knowledge, be ridden by a horse? Tony, I've never heard of it. Maybe you can be the first. I doubt, if you look at that slat on their back, that it would be a very comfortable ride. But probably one of the last flowers we're going to see nice and clearly for the season. And it is a large devil thorn flower. And I've been waiting for this because we've seen the flower quite often, but we actually haven't seen the seed. Now, if you have an impish side to you like I do, these seeds are great fun. So they're very specifically designed. And they're actually designed, if you're an ungulate with a hoof, and you're walking and you've got that gap between your hooves, so it's designed to get stuck in between the hooves. And that's how this particular plant disperses its seed. So if you see an impala or wildebeest walking quite often with a limp, it could be one of these large devil thorns stuck inside there. Dave's quite impressed with that. He's saying, wow. Now, as I said, if you have an impish side, they're the bush version of the drawing pin on the chair. So you can pick a few. You can either do the handshake trick where you just stick it in there and then you go shake someone's hand with the thorns on the inside, or you can pop it on a chair. Dave, do you think we should play a trick on Jean-Ray tonight?
I think that's a great idea.
I think we should keep this for Jean-Ray. Maybe we'll do it while we're doing the after drive catch-up and we can watch Jean-Ray yelp in pain. So while we continue on, see what else we can find. and leave the giraffe, who is very, very interested in what we've got to say. Sam is with a bird of prey, and we'll see you a little later.
So we've been waiting patiently with this white-backed vulture, as you can see here, standing on a knobthorn, an old knobthorn, much like what we saw this morning down by Buffelshoek Dam. So it is awesome to be sitting with a vulture again. And it looks like it has been sitting there for quite some time. So it's a solitary vulture. We can't see any others around us. But now that we have got you here, we're going to slowly move forward towards this vulture, and potentially there might be some more that would be around this area, and maybe there could be a kill there. We never know. That's what vultures do. They circle the skies during the day in the thermals, and then they come down and they feed on some of the old kills that have been around here. So let's move forward slightly. Maybe there's something there, but even better, maybe it will fly off. And have a look at those wings of the vulture.